Hi and welcome to this CG Jam tutorial video. In this episode we are looking at the invisibility effect that you see in films such as Predator. It's something that I haven't really seen done before in Blender, which is surprising considering how old the actual film is. I've seen this done a few times in After Effects, but never in Blender, so let's give it a go. If you'd like to just download the asset pack from the website, and you can join in and follow along with this tutorial. Let's get straight in and we'll have a look at what we need to do. But first, let's take a look at what we're going to be trying to achieve. Alright, so that's pretty cool. Now let's get our scene set up first. What we need is to set up our camera settings, and for this clip we need a 720 by 1280 thing, so I'll just click on the presets and choose 720 HD, and we need to change the frame rate to 30 frames a second, and that should be good. That's all we need. So now let's head over to the motion tracking video editing window. There we go. Click the button and open up our image strip. So if we open the file we just downloaded and open image sequence number 1, and that's the one with our actor, and it's 279 300 it's that many frames anyway. So let's click on the first one, click open clip, and now we have it in the scene, and we just click the prefetch frames button, and there we go, it's all going off, all nice and purple. That means our images are being collected into the RAM, and we're ready to go. Now we just need to adjust the end frame, and click on end and type in 379, and that'll put us at the right end. We just need to finish caching the RAM there. Take a couple of seconds. Okay, just about there. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is create a mask to cut out our guy, because we're going to need to use a blank background and just the image of our character, otherwise this effect isn't going to work. So I'm just checking through, making sure it's all cached nicely. Lovely. Just pause that. Now in order to get the mask in, what we're going to do is just track our character as he walks across the road, and we'll use that to parent the mask so that the mask follows along behind the character, and it saves us a little bit of time in doing the rotoscoping. So let's jump to the beginning of our frame, clip rather, and hold down Control and drop a tracker onto our face. Press S and scale the tracker up, and then we just adjust it slightly to get a nice area for the track to follow, and then we press the track forward button and off it goes. I'll time lapse through this quickly because it's a bit boring. nice and easy. So now if we go down to our mode and change it from tracking to mask, this little button here, and now we need enough handles around our character in order to create the mask properly, so I'm going to go all the way around first and then adjust it as required. So just hold Control and press the left mouse button and it drops the handles in nicely. And these little, I think it's a B spline, or is it a Z spline? It's a spline anyway. We can just press Control, and if we just click the left mouse button on the handle, on the top handle, it allows you to rotate the spline, and also by dragging the spline inwards and outwards it adjusts the sharpness of the curve. So if I drop one here and come around here a little bit, oops, it can get a bit loopy and twisty if you're not careful. You just drag it in and move the handles around until your curve goes in the right place. I'm making a bit of a pig's ear of it here because that's what I do. Okay, so again I'm going to just time-lapse quickly through this process. It's all very simple, shouldn't take too long, this initial part. And then we just press the toggle cyclic button to close it off, and that's our mask done. Just adjust a few handles and we're ready to go. Now we just quickly jump back to our tracking and unhide our track like so. Go back to our mask. Now we just need to select our track and shift select our mask. I can get close. Just select, there we go, and then press Ctrl P, and that should parent the track to the mask now. If we look under our active point, we can see our mask is successfully parented. And if we just press Alt A in the thing, we can see the mask moves along with our track. It's obviously not adjusting to our character yet because we need to keyframe the points. And if I jump straight back to the start now, excuse me, stop that, go back to the start, and if I hit the auto keyframe button, so it will adjust everything as we go along. I can go forward one frame, that will put the keyframes in where we need them, and I'm going to drag the mask away from the character for the simple reason we don't need to rotoscope every keyframe where the effect isn't happening, because that's pointless and it will just take an awful lot of time that we don't need to waste. The rotoscoping itself, the masking, is going to take long enough as it is, so we'll save ourselves a bit of time by not doing it where we don't need to. And I'm just making sure the mask is outside of our character right up to the point where we want our effect to start. and I shall continue to allow the time lapse to go ahead and work on this, because this takes in fact around 5 or 6 hours of just sitting there tweaking handles, and it's going to be really boring to watch, as you can see me plodding along now. Even in time lapse it's taking a long time. Yeah, so I'm going to time lapse through this quickly and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so now we've got the tedious and boring and long-winded part out of the way, let's go into our compositing windows and we'll start creating the effect. And so the first thing we need to do is just delete the render layers, because we're not going to be using those. Just click it and press X and it's gone. We need to have the use nodes checkbox ticked. That's good, that's already. Now let's add in our images. Just click image and then press Shift D and duplicate that. So now we have 2 image nodes, and we're going to open up our image sequences. So I'll go to image sequence 1 and select everything. Just make sure it's the right one. Yep, it's the one with the character in. We just need to select the first one and press open image, and in our node, if we go to image sequence and choose the amount of frames, which is 379, just type that in there. That's that one, and we come to the next one and we just do the same there. Go into image sequence 2, select the first one and press open image. I'll just make sure how many frames we have, 232, and we open image, and now change the frames, 232, lovely, and that's done. Now what we need to do is click on the cyclic and auto refresh, because we want this particular image sequence to run cyclically. We don't want it to end suddenly in the middle of the film, because that would be crazy. And we just choose auto refresh on this image. We don't need it to be cyclic. There we go, and we're ready to get started. Let's turn on the background image so we can see what we're doing. And we need to connect to viewer node, so we just hold the thing, press Shift Control and mouse button, left mouse button, and that'll connect our viewer node. And now the first thing we need is to set the start frame of our effect. So if we just press Ctrl up arrow again to go back to our main window and find our timeline, and if we just scrub through gently until we find the start of our effect, which is where our mask just wraps around our character. And if we say where he's opening his phone device thing, pressing a few buttons, and then that'll do. So about frame 160 looks pretty good to me, and we'll start there. So I just hover over the thing, the timeline, and press S, and that jumps through there, and that's a good start point. Okay, so let's just reduce this window a little bit. There are two ways to do this invisibility effect. The first way is the simple and quite boring way, and that's just to simply drop in a mix node between the foreground and background, and then keyframe the factor to fade out over time. But that's dull and not very interesting. So let's delete that mix node and press Shift A, click Distort, and choose the Displace node from the menu, and just drop it onto your background image. Okay, that's our start. So first thing we need to do is turn our foreground element into a grayscale image so that it works properly. So we press Shift A, Color, Hue Saturation Value, and we'll just drop that in. And we'll press connect that to the viewer node. I will drop the saturation down. So now we have grayscale, and if we add in now a brightness and contrast node, and we'll start playing with the contrast, see what happens. Change up the brightness a little bit. Okay. And then let's hit it with a color ramp. Shift A, Converter, color ramp. And we'll drag the whites in. Oops, why is that being funny? Come on. Okay, that looks good about there. Okay. Let's just hoover that over to the side. Let's get rid of the end panel for the moment. We don't need to see that. The way this works is all the light colours will displace pixels, and all the dark colours will not displace pixels. So let's throw in an invert node so we can play around with the colours and get the best effect. So Shift A, add what did I say? Invert. So colour invert, and we'll drop that in. That's a bit bright. Let's just crush it in a bit more. That's looking better. That's looking. Let's pull the blacks in a bit. Nope, wrong way. And we'll drop the factor down a little bit. See if that helps. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Okay, so now we can take this grayscale image and plug that into the vector pass. And we'll connect that up to the viewer node, and we'll see what we've got. Now, if I change this to 10 pixels, and this to 10 pixels, you can see there's some movement there. But it's not ideal. Let's change it to 50. 50 by 50. Okay, now you can see we're having an effect. So now's the time that we can bring in our mask node. So let's press Shift A, Input, Mask. And now choose our mask, and we need something to plug into. So let's add a mix node, Shift A, Color, Mix, Color, Mix, Color, Mix. And we'll drop our displace node into the bottom tab, and we will take our original background image, put it over the top. We want our distorted one on top, so let's now plug in our mask into the factor. There we go. Now our original image is showing through under the mask, and we have our displaced video element down there in front of us. So that's cool, but we need it to work a little bit better. We don't want it to just jump from being a full character to being nothing, and we need to bring our actor back. So we need another mix node. So we'll just duplicate that with Shift D. Move the viewer across. We'll take this mix node and plug it into the top there. And now let's take our original unchanged hue saturation clip and put that into the top. Okay, so we have a factor of 0 on here, and as we slide it up, our character fades out into our invisible character, which is excellent. So let's find a good place to go through on our scene. So let's drag our window back up. Oh god, come on. There we go. And let's just make our movie window. Oh no, because we need the timeline still. Let's just bring it up a bit and bring it wide a bit. So we'll just scrub through until we find a good place to be invisible. Get to the start. Alright, so we come in, checking the phone, pressing buttons, pressing buttons, pressing buttons. Right there, the footage actually blurs naturally, so on frame 173, if we press, let's have that dragged up to 1, press I to insert the keyframe, jump back to the start, bring it down to 0, and it automatically inserts a keyframe, which is a new thing, which is quite clever. So now as we go through frame by frame, you can see we are slowly fading into a fully transparent displaced image. So let's have a little bit of a bit more of a look of this adjustment. So let's try adjusting the factor to 1, and I'm not too keen on that. Let's make it a little bit more subtle than that. I think 50 is far too high, so let's look at our displacement node and we'll drop it down to 10 by 10 again. See how that looks. Okay, and it's there, you can see it, but it's a bit too subtle, I think, so let's make it 20 on the X. That pushes it all forward a bit. And we'll make it 15 on the Y. And that pushes it up a bit higher. That looks good. Yeah, okay. We've got these little dots everywhere, which is artifacts, I think. Not a great deal we can do about those. So let's play with our grayscale image. Let's pull that back a bit. That makes it more of a mess. So we'll pull it tighter. Yeah, that's giving us a nice effect. Let's eliminate the brightness and contrast node altogether because we've got it all controlled by the colour ramp anyway. So let's get rid of that. Let's reduce that down to about 0.4. That's interesting, but we're not getting any detail inside the effect. So let's bring it up to 0.6, 0.7, 0.85. Okay, I can go along with that. That looks better. Click the alpha button. Does that do anything? That did nothing to help us, so we'll leave it. Okay, we're looking good there. That's all set up. Let's just scrub through a little bit. Yeah, it's walking. Still a lot of noise. So let's add a bit of a blur node to the background image that we're having displaced. So add distort, filter, blur. Just drop that on there. Change it to fast Gaussian. Give it 2 pixels, see what happens. Oh, that's quite fun. Now we're slightly blurred out at the back. We've still got the detailing from our thing. Okay. And I think that's about done. You can go back to the start, and during our transition from solid to not solid, change our displacement. And we'll start at 0. So now as our displacement effect will take effect as we go through. So we can see halfway through we're getting a slight displacement. As we get more invisible, the effect gets stronger. But I think that's going to go a little bit quick, so let's take a look at our dope sheet. Let's find out where we are at the end there. Yeah, so let's grab this set of keyframes and we'll drag them out to about frame 200. Let's see. Whereabouts we are there. Flips the phone down. Just drag them out to that point. Alright, that should be good. Frame 209. Just drag back. Okay, lovely. That's all done. Let's look at rendering it out now. Let's go to new directory. Render 2, because I've practiced this before, obviously. We'll open this up, click accept, and we will render this out and then take a look at what we've got. So hit animation, and off it goes. It should be pretty quick. We're only animating the effect, we're not animating anything prior to that. So I'll see you once it's finished. Okay, that didn't take too long, about 10 minutes, so let's have a look at our rendered sequence. If we just click on the render tab and play rendered animation, it should just pop up. There we go. And that's looking pretty cool. Excellent. So now all we need to do is turn it into an actual video file. So let's head over to our video editing suite, and we'll start by adding the strip we've just rendered. We'll go image, and we'll go to the render file that we've just chosen. Hold down the left mouse button and box select everything in that file, add image strip, and we need to grab that and bring it to the first frame. There we go. And now if we change the start frame from 160 where we set it previously and set it to 1, and now if we go back to our menu, add image sequence, and we go to image sequence 1, and we need the first 159 frames. Sequence 1, zero to 159. There we go. And we just select that little collection. Add image strip. Oops, it's placed it on top. We don't want that. G. And we'll just put it in place there. We're missing a frame, but that's okay. We'll just slide Alt A to get those through. as you can see in our small preview window, we walk in, open our device, button, 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 and off we go. We go back to our default window, open up our render tab, and now we can choose a file. And keep the same file if you wish, or create a new one. And we change it from a PNG to a H.264. Now if you want to overlay some sound onto it, choose the audio MP3 codec. That's all fine. We don't have any sound in this one. So let's add some. Let's go back to our video editing. Click Add Movie. And if we open up the file and choose the original file and add the movie, you can see the original movie that we brought in. We can delete that strip, X, erase strip, and we're left with this light blue one. Just zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And press G, and we'll just put it over the top there, and that will give us our background sounds. Okay, that'll do. Now at least when we play back our video we'll have the background noises, ambient sounds of life going on behind us. So head back to default. Under our encoding we've got our H.264 audio codec. Just choose the MP3 or whatever codec you're comfortable with, and then we can just hit the animation button and that will start rendering the scene, and off it goes. So thanks for watching. This has been a lot of fun and I hope you've learnt plenty and you're going to have some fun with this effect. Don't forget to comment at the bottom of the page and let us know what you thought, and share your projects with us. Share links and videos in the description, or feel free to do that, or hit us up at CG Jam on Twitter and we'll look forward to hearing from you. So until next time, have fun. See you then.